The crystal glass shattered against the white tablecloth in a violent splash, water exploding upward like a silent scream, and the child's small hand remained frozen midair as if even she was shocked by what she had done. Every conversation in the sunlit restaurant died at once, forks hovering, breaths caught, as the billionaire across the table stared at the mess with the familiar look of defeat that had followed him for years whenever his daughter lost control. People had learned to fear that moment. The moment when Arwen Kessler's emotions tipped over and something broke. If you believe stories can heal broken hearts and that kindness can still change impossible situations, this is your gentle reminder to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Pure Kindness. Your support keeps stories of hope, compassion, and second chances alive. The restaurant sat along a wide avenue washed in late morning light, its tall windows pulling sunshine onto polished floors and cream-colored walls. It was the kind of place where everything whispered order and wealth, where servers moved like dancers and nothing ever went wrong. Yet nothing ever went right when Arwen was there. At 9 years old, she carried storms inside her that adults twice her age couldn't calm. Therapists had failed. Nannies had quit. Teachers had resigned with polite smiles masking relief. Her father, Rowan Kessler, had built an empire out of discipline and strategy, but none of that knowledge helped him understand the chaos in his own child. Arwen was not cruel by nature. Her outbursts came from a place deeper than anger. She had stopped speaking 2 years earlier, not because she could not, but because the world felt too loud and unsafe. Her mother's sudden death in a daytime accident had carved a silence inside her that no amount of money could fill. Grief lived in her muscles, tightening without warning, spilling out as broken plates, spilled drinks, and sharp movements that frightened everyone around her. Rowan knew this, yet each public incident made him feel smaller, as if the city was watching him fail at the one role he could not outsource. The staff braced themselves, already calculating how fast security would step in, how quickly apologies would be issued, how efficiently the scene would be erased. That was when Mira Solen noticed something no one else did. Mira was the newest waitress, hired only weeks ago, her uniform still stiff from too many careful washes. She had come to the city chasing a quieter dream after losing her younger brother to a long illness. Hospitals had taught her how fear looked before it screamed, how grief hid in sudden movements. As she approached the table, sunlight caught the faint scar on her wrist, a reminder of nights spent holding someone else together while falling apart herself. Instead of recoiling from the chaos, Mira slowed down. She saw Arwen's rigid shoulders, the way the child's jaw trembled, the shallow breathing that came just before another explosion. Mira did not see a spoiled billionaire's daughter. She saw a frightened child drowning in feelings she could not name. Around them, the restaurant waited for disaster, but Mira placed the replacement glass down gently, her movements unhurried, as if time itself had softened around her. Life tested Mira in that moment more than it ever had during double shifts or unpaid bills. Every instinct told her to retreat, to protect herself, to follow the rules. But another instinct, older and quieter, urged her to stay. She lowered herself slightly, not kneeling, not towering, simply existing at Arwen's level. The sunlight warmed the table between them. The noise of the room returned in distant waves, muted by something fragile taking shape. Arwen's eyes flickered, dark and guarded. Her hand trembled again, fingers curling as if preparing to strike. Mira did something no professional had ever tried. She closed her own eyes for a brief second and inhaled slowly, letting the breath fill her chest and release. She repeated it, exaggerating the calm, making it visible. The child watched, confusion breaking through the tension like light through clouds. Mira did not touch Arwen. She did not correct her. She did not apologize on her behalf. She simply stayed present, breathing, grounded. The impossible happened quietly. Arwen's breathing began to mirror hers, uneven at first, then slower. The tightness in her shoulders loosened by a fraction. It was not peace, but it was a pause, and no one had ever been able to give Arwen that. Rowan felt his chest ache as he watched. He had spent years paying experts to fix what was broken, never realizing his daughter did not need fixing. She needed someone unafraid of her pain. The restaurant's daylight seemed to grow warmer, softer, as if acknowledging the shift. The days that followed unfolded like a cautious sunrise. Rowan requested Mira specifically, not as an employee obligation but as a quiet plea. She hesitated, aware of the fragile line between care and intrusion, but agreed under one condition: no pressure, no expectations. They met during daytime hours only, in open spaces filled with natural light. Parks, libraries, sunlit rooms with wide windows. Mira never asked Arwen to speak. She offered choices, patience, presence. Sometimes they sat in silence for an hour, watching dust float through sunlight. Sometimes Arwen lined up objects meticulously, her way of controlling a world that once spun out of her grasp. Mira broke down one afternoon alone on a park bench, the weight of responsibility crashing into her. She questioned who she was to step into this family's grief when she had not healed her own. She remembered her brother's last smile under harsh hospital lights and let herself cry openly, the sun drying her tears without judgment. That vulnerability, unseen by anyone else, anchored her resolve. She understood now that healing did not require perfection, only honesty. Arwen noticed changes before anyone else. She began to seek Myra's presence, sitting closer, watching her face. One morning, sunlight streaming through a cafe window, Arwen placed a napkin carefully over a glass, protecting it from imaginary harm. It was a small act, almost invisible, but it felt monumental. Rowan noticed too. For the first time in years, he felt hope that did not terrify him. Near the end of this journey, if this story is touching something deep inside you, please support it by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your encouragement helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. The final test came unexpectedly, as these things often do. A formal charity luncheon, held during the bright hours of early afternoon, filled with polished speeches and careful smiles. Rowan hesitated to bring Arwen, fear gnawing at him, but Myra's calm confidence steadied him. The room buzzed with restrained energy, sunlight glinting off glass and silverware. When a sudden loud clatter echoed from the kitchen, Arwen flinched hard, panic rising like a wave. All eyes turned. This time, Mira did not rush. She simply sat beside Arwen, grounding herself first. Arwen's hands shook, but instead of striking, she pressed them flat against the table, breathing as she had learned. The moment stretched, fragile and electric. Then, slowly, Arwen reached for Myra's hand. It was brief. It was silent. It was everything. Before the final emotional closing, take a moment to comment and share what this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know. Sunlight poured through the tall windows as the room exhaled. No glass broke. No apologies were needed. Rowan felt tears blur his vision, not from embarrassment this time, but from gratitude so profound it left him breathless. He finally understood that strength was not control, but compassion, and that sometimes the impossible happens when someone chooses to stay instead of stepping away. Arwen never became a perfect child. Mira never became a miracle worker. But together, in the honest light of day, they proved that patience can rewrite endings, that grief can soften when met with courage, and that one quiet act of kindness can succeed where power and wealth never could. The world did not change overnight, but one small girl did, and for those who witnessed it, nothing looked quite the same again.